Hi, I'm Jay Haynes for the Film Sensei YouTube channel. Today, in this video, I thought we would do the Tomb Raider style title since the new Tomb Raider movie is now out. And I'm going to do this all without using any assets outside of HitFilm. I'm going to today be working in HitFilm Pro 7.1, but any version of Pro will probably do. I'm going to start by creating a new composite shot, and this is going to actually be my text placeholder where I'm going to place the title in, and I'm only going to make this a 4-second long composite shot. I'm going to add a new text layer, and it doesn't matter, you know, what's in it and what it looks like and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to say Tomb Raider. And you can make it any size or whatever. I'm going to use, I have a broken glass font that I'm going to use. But you can, again, you can use whatever font that you want to use. 450. But what I want to do, I think, is under transform, I'm just going to make it a lot taller, right? And then I will just sort of do this. Okay, and I might even make this part red, and probably knock this down to like 250. Yeah, something like that. So, but it doesn't matter what it is, you know, what it says or anything like that. So there's my text placeholder, and it doesn't even have to actually be text. It could be any picture or whatever that you want. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a texture that I'm going to steal to place on the text. So again, this will be a new composite shot, and I'm just going to call this texture, and I'll drop a new plane in there, and I can add any texture I want. Like I said, I'm going to keep this in HitFilm, so I'm not going to use any outside assets, which means I'll use a fractal noise, and I think I'll just steal the cooling lava texture. So now, if I say final text, and I bring in both the text placeholder and the texture that I'm going to use, I can hide the texture, but if I use a parallax effect, and I drop it on the text placeholder, and then use the height map, the texture, then I'll be good to go. When I add a new light, then you can see there it is. And what I think I will do is move the light into a better position, and I'm just going to dim it and then duplicate it, and then negative. There we go. So it looks sort of like that. So there's my my textured text, right? And again, I could use any texture, any text, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now I want to create the place where it's going to slash through, and then the place where it isn't going to slash through. So I'm going to say new composite shot. This will be the, for lack of a better word, slashed text. And I'm going to drag in the final text. And what I want to do is I want to run it through. So let me create a new composite shot. We'll call this the slash mat, if you will. And this was what I will end up using as it's, I'm just going to create or just build it's going to slash through like that. Okay, so then when I go to the slash text, I can bring in my mat, and I can hide it, but then I will use a set matte effect on the text, and I will source that slash matte. Now I want it to be completely transparent if there's not a text there, so I'm going to use a demult key here to just clean up that so that it's only showing the text that I want it to actually shatter out, okay? Then if I create a new composite shot, and for lack of a better word, I'm going to call this unslashed text, because I'm going to need that for the other side, or the other part of that text. And again, I'm bringing my text, and I'm going to bring in my slash matte. And then again, I will use the set matte effect on the text, sourcing the slash matte, but this time I'm going to invert it. And again, I'll want to add a demold key in this case to make it transparent the rest of the way. So everything is transparent except for the text part that's not being shattered or slashed. Okay. All right. So now let's make a new composite shot. This will be the final shot. And I will bring in the unslashed text as well as the slashed text. So putting them together, then they form the whole thing. So there's the one and there's the other, right? Now, you could use like a shatter effect on this, but I am actually going to use the particle simulator, and I'm going to drag that onto the, not that particle, the atomic particle layer only, I mean. I'm going to drag that onto here. And what the deal is that right now it isn't doing anything. But I'm going to use the disperse part of this. Only the disperse. I'm not going to use the fractal, the displacement, although I could. I'm going to use the disperse, and you'll see if I just sort of, then it gets you that effect that you're looking for, right? So that is it. And all you have to do is just keyframe that to go, right, like this, okay? So you could use a dispersion map that would kind of cross over from left to right. So let's do that. Let's create a new composite shot. We'll call it dispersion map. And I'll drag in a plane. And that plane is actually going to be my dispersion map. What I'll do is maybe use a fill color on it. And the dispersion map basically says, if it's white, then disperse it. And if it's black, don't. And so all we have to do, and all I'm going to do, is just put a matte here on the outside, or a mask, I should say, here on the plane, like this. And then I'm just going to move that mask. So, I think I will maybe at the 1 second mark keyframe the position, and then I'm going to go in about 10 frames and just move it over until it is completely covering like this. And I might add quite a bit of blur to it, or feather, I should say, like this. Okay, but as long as it's not feathered out on either side, I might have to move it just a little bit over to get it clean off. And that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll just be safe. Okay, going back to my final shot, if I were to drag in my dispersion map and then hide it, if I go back into the atomic particles, I could use that as my dispersion map. So now I can create that, and then it won't actually do anything until it gets to that 1 second mark, and then it'll start slashing through. Okay, so I get to the 1 second mark. What I will do is keyframe that, and then at the end, I might keyframe it to say 80, so that it's bigger. Okay. And then if I were to do a RAM preview, it would look like this, which actually looks pretty cool. Now, the beauty of this is, and I'm going to leave this project file in the description below. So if you want to just download this and play with it, feel free. I'll leave it in the description below. But if you want to change anything, say, for example, you get your slash matte out, and you want to add another one, I'll tell you what, I'll just duplicate this. And then I'll just rotate the duplicate, -5, right? And maybe I'll move it a little bit, whatever. So it looks like that. Then when I go back to my final shot, you can see that, I have a couple of different slashes through. If I want to go to my text placeholder and maybe come in here and just change these, into their different, into something different, right? Then it automatically updates in the final shot, you see? And it looks pretty good there, So everything looks good. The thing is that you can sort of see that. Why is that? Well, that's because the atomic particle numbers are actually, the number of particles are low. So I would go ahead and crank that up. But when I do that, it makes it harder to see, right? Also, if I were to add a light to this scene, then that would sort of change that number as well. That's probably too much. And if I were to, add, like, say, for example, a minor 3D extrusion to the unslashed part of the text, then that would also sort of hide it. In fact, you don't even have to have any 3D extrusion, and just sort of be gone there, or maybe a minimal amount, just enough to kind of cover up the fact that slash is there. But then when you get to the end, right, it's all there. Now, you could use other things rather than, just a slash. You could paint your own arrow in there. Or you could, create all kinds of different, you could use pictures and other things like that. But the point is this is just sort of your basic idea of how to create that Tomb Raider title effect. So if you have any questions or feedback, leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.